Hey guys, Easter Egg Productions here with episode 14 of Sounding Board. I am Kale the Quick, and we have also here this evening Feather. Say hi, Feather.
Hello.
Hey, wonderful friend. And also Thor.
Hello, I'm a Norse god.
It's true, he is very good. Actually works with electronics, so more so than you might think in the beginning. So why don't you, Feather, tell me something new you've played in the last couple weeks, bi-weekly show. So what have you seen new or played new or heard new, any sort of fun media stuff from the last couple weeks?
Let's see, fun media stuff. Well, we went to go see the new Guardians of the Galaxy flick the
Yeah,
other
we
day.
did.
That was actually it was pretty good. Like I enjoyed myself a lot. It evoked is the word. It evoked emotion, and it gave some good laughs, and it had some like gasp oh no moments. It was good. It was satisfactory.
Yeah, it was. I mean, a lot of the Marvel movies, they're a little bit paint by the numbers and stuff, but there were still a few surprises in there.
Mhm.
Still some good stuff. And say what you will about the Marvel universe, the movies are definitely entertaining. I mean,
Yes.
they know what they're doing, putting those things together. So, what about you, Thor? You seen anything cool past few?
Well, like you two, I also watched Guardians of the Galaxy with
You caught it.
my friend that is of the girl variety.
Yeah, Lady Sif. We all know.
Yeah, we enjoyed it, and I watched a YouTube video from Midnight's Edge, where they kind of went into some more detail about the musicality of like the song choices that they used in the movie Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty interesting.
Do you have any quick points or summary from it? Obviously, we don't just want to watch the entire video here on our live stream, but just, any good points from it?
The main one was how, not full-on spoilers, but I guess I would say, Ego, he, at one point during the movie, who is like one of the main character's father, he brought up the use of a song that he and main character's mother shared, and how that actually related to the plot of the movie, which was a really interesting take on it.
True, and I do recall that, and it was cool how they used it, and they actually used like the progression of the lyrics because they kept playing the first few starting stanzas. I forget. I don't know the musical terminology here. The first few bits, and then later they read the other ones. They're like, oh yes, see, we're going here to this part of the story, blah blah blah, something like that.
Yeah,
it was really good. And I watched another video. It might have been by the same guy. It might have been someone different, just talking about the music in the Marvel movies and how it's not super memorable because they keep it very conservative, just like the directing. They don't like push the limits of it.
Yeah,
Try to get that broad market appeal. But with the Guardians of the Galaxy, especially like the first one, they relied a lot on licensed music, like catchy songs from the 80s, and that was really cool because they did weave it into the story that these songs were important and like meant something to the character.
Yeah,
and I get spoilers for the first one, I guess, but in the end, when he opens up that package from his mom and it's like another tape, like that was musical, very emotional, very, very like a touching moment there. Just opening
another
a
mixtape.
package.
Yeah. Otherwise, the other thing, at least continuing to relate on the theme of music, is Nier Automata.
Yeah, so is that a game you played that's new?
Oh yeah, it's great. I played through all 5 endings. It's amazing.
Wow.
I've heard really good things about it.
It's pretty good, at least in my opinion.
What systems is it for?
It's on PC and PS4.
Okay, well, I have a PC, so I might be able to actually check that one out. I have heard good things about it and seen very well done cosplays. Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, it's made by Yoko Taro, who's well known for making very depressing games, and a number of side quests in Automata are a good level of depressing.
Wow, that sounds super fun.
It's actually really engaging.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
but the music itself is phenomenal. Like, just go and listen to like an OST from either the original Nier or Nier Automata. It's great. Like, they even created a made-up language for those games, or the game's soundtracks, more specifically. They're really great.
That's cool. So you like the game so much? Give us not a spoilery, but just a short like what type of gameplay is it? Like what is the general story thing? Because I don't know anything about it. I think the only thing I've seen was the cosplays of 2B, I think,
Yeah.
which is definitely not a reference to Shakespeare.
Yeah, the more interesting aspects of Nier Automata is the fact that Yoko Taro, the like director of the game himself, is like he likes to have variety in the games he plays. Where he said in an interview is like, yeah, after 20 minutes of a game, I'm like, is this it? Is this the main game mechanic I have? Because in the game, it's developed in conjunction with Platinum Games, a well-known, spectacle fighter
Mhm.
game developer studio.
So a spectacle fighter, that's a term we've used internally, and I don't know if it's a common industry term, but what is that? Just for the audience at home.
It's a type of game where it's in general, it's like a 3D like brawler where
Mhm.
it's very focused on looking and feeling really good and fun to play.
What are a
So,
few other games that are in that?
in that genre, let me
Would that
think.
include things like really neat like finishing moves and just really cool fighting animation, like along that line?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
It's
Devil May
very
Cry?
much
Like
focused on very big moves, very flashy.
so when I hear that, I think about the Injustice series
Yeah,
and the new one that's coming out. I recently watched a video with all of the different finishing moves for all of the superheroes and villains, and very very flashy, very spectacle, very as big and visceral and awesome looking as possible.
oh yeah, yeah. That's the definition of like spectacle fighter is it's a spectacle. It looks great.
So would that include things like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta?
Yes, actually.
Okay, so it's Injustice. That's just a normal kind of side fighter, right?
Yeah, that's a more traditional like
Okay, so it's not linked
fighter.
specifically to the mechanics, but like the feeling that like the awesomeness and the visuals give you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the more interesting thing about at least Nier Automata is it seamlessly transitions between different perspectives.
Hmm.
To put it another way, you start the game in kind of a shmup or shoot 'em up perspective. So you're basically flying as an airplane and you can only fire straight up.
Hmm.
And then later on, you can fire in multiple directions in a
Progression.
more like twin stick shooter. And then after that, you get into like the proper 3D where you're actually, playing like what the rest of the gameplay is like, where you are in a 3D environment, your camera can move wherever, and you're using swords and your pod as a gun.
That's cool.
And then as you go through the initial level, you're going between like full 3D environments to pseudo 2D environments like side scroller, and then you go back to 3D, and then you go into like top down 2D shooter, and
Huh.
So
it seamlessly transitions between all of them. You never feel like the controls change out from under you. The same controls are used throughout, and that is amazing.
So it has a little bit of kind of the unfolding kind of feel, where like it starts with a simple, like you said, just little shmuppish kind of thing,
Yeah.
and then it expands, and then like it just adds in a new dimension, and then keeps going from there. So
I
it starts
think
off a little bit of
it's-
that.
Yeah, I think it's better explained as you transition between, as opposed to like it evolves, because there are times when you go back, and there are instances where like you travel through the like overworld, and it's like you're running through this one area in full 3D, and you're going to another area, and the path that you're on suddenly changes to side scrolling. Things like that. It does it very seamlessly.
That's actually real cool.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely have to check that out. For whenever it's on sale or the price drops. None of us here are made of money.
I don't feel bad if you spoil yourself on the first two endings, because it's only on the third ending that the game actually fully opens up, and you should really try to avoid the fifth ending E, because that's where things really hit at the feels.
Oh. Well, I'm trying to avoid those. I get plenty of those from real life. I don't need that stuff from the game.
But yeah, no. In other words, but put it another way, the first two endings, you're basically playing through the same game, just from different perspectives.
Cool.
Okay.
And that's a minor spoiler, but it's not that big of one.
Yeah.
Pull out a
I'm sure we
sticky
can
note.
handle minor spoilers here. So, have either of you played anything else new, or seen anything else? Any new things in the world of media? All right. Well, it doesn't sound like it, but hey, we're coming up on the summer doldrums of cool stuff coming out. Before it's right as the game releases slow down, and right before they start releasing all of the summer blockbusters.
Mhm.
So we just got one going on here. It's the
Yeah. Otherwise, I've also been playing Persona 5, which to my knowledge is only on PS4.
Right.
It's also pretty good, but it is a definite variant of JRPG.
Yeah, no, I've heard of it. I've never played the series, but I have heard that they're good, confusing, and very Japanese.
Well, they really like their psychology as well. Like, they base a lot of their gameplay, like mechanics and justification behind mechanics, behind Jungian psychology. Because one of the more controversial ideas that Carl Jung had involved a collective unconscious, which is, I haven't finished Persona 4, and I've currently trying to work through Persona 5 now. But that is a theme between the two of them, at least, is there's some idea of a collective unconscious that is used to justify some of the dungeons they have.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Feather,
That's me.
Yes, it is. You are pretty good making music.
But all right, I'll accept this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. Try to be humble. You're amazing at what you do. And Thor, you've been trained in music as well.
Classically trained.
Weird.
There's a big rift between being classically trained and the stuff that I do.
Yeah, no, I believe it's the same in programming. I also do the programming, and I believe Thor, you were also classically trained in the programming.
Well, programming is a little different than music when it comes to training.
Yeah, I would assume, but there are some similarities there.
Well, like with classical training in music, you get more at like the fundamentals, but that's more, like I said, for classical music. Whereas like programming, a lot of it comes down to pure logic, and so music isn't quite the same. But yeah.
But a lot of our media, especially like video games, like Nier, we were just talking about earlier, they merge music with something that is very logical, a game. So how, like, what other games, and like go back all the way to every game you ever played, what games have really just kind of mixed music and the game and possibly even the story, like we were talking about with Guardians of the Galaxy a moment ago, how they worked in the soundtrack into the story. Like, has a game ever done that either of you have played?
Chrono Cross. Like I'm gonna step up here and rant about my favorite game of all time here.
All right, lay it on us.
An old SquareSoft game before it became Square Enix. Kind of the spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger. It was Chrono Cross. And spoilers, to get to the like actual end boss thing, the true ending, there are there's a certain order that you need to cast spells in. I guess they're kind of like materia from Final Fantasy, but they're called elements. And each type of element has a color and a specific sound that it makes. To get to the end boss, you have to cast them in a certain order to get a certain melody, which coincidentally is also like one of the main characters' theme songs, sort of. And when I figured that out, I was just so blown away by just the whole concept of it that I guess I wasn't really used to things being quote unquote meta at the time. But taking a thing that we could hear outside of the game that wouldn't necessarily be associated with the game, so like the words difficult, reeling it back in. I got really excited there for a minute.
That's perfectly fine. None of us would be into this if we weren't excited about it.
But taking the character's theme song and weaving it around, hinting at it throughout the game, and then having it culminate at the very end, saying you can't get the true ending, you cannot win unless you do it in this order and get this specific sound, that was just mind-blowing to me. And I thought it was a very, very good use of incorporating music into the game. Like, the game became part of the music. And you couldn't finish the game unless you did the music correctly.
All right.
And now I'm just getting into circular explanations, so I'm going to stop it there.
All right.
You know, that just reminds me of a certain puzzle in Myst that is like sound/music based. I was just having flashbacks to that.
What did it?
What was it?
Explain. Inquiring
Basically,
minds.
the puzzle involved listening to the sounds and trying to effectively write down what those sounds were. Basically, trying to transcribe what the music was.
I'm here for this. I like this.
This was back in the day when a game could expect you to have a notepad nearby.
Yeah, the original Myst was very much a you need a notepad to do this game.
Wow.
Yeah, that puzzle was pretty difficult.
So the only ones that I know of that I mean, other than like the obvious ones, like of course Zelda. Like Zelda has repeatedly incorporated music, like to open doors, unlock stuff, and change the weather or the time of day. You know, all the stuff music does in real life. And the rhythm games, obviously, like Dance Dance Revolution, not really a story-driven narrative there, usually.
Very story-driven.
Of course. But of course, the music is directly tied to the gameplay. It's about moving in time and music, which is just fun. And I think there's a game I've never played. Have either of you heard of or played Shantae?
Oh, Shantae?
Oh, Shantae,
Yeah,
the
Shantae.
genie.
Maybe? I don't know.
The genie?
Yeah,
Series?
half genie hero, or
That's the most recent.
Yeah, so
Yes, yeah.
Well, what is that? Like, is that a music thing? I don't know.
It's sort of a music thing. Like the different, not really attacks, but abilities you can do along with the beat of the music that plays.
Yeah, it depends on the specific entry you are playing, from what I can recall. Basically, Shantae can do different dances to transform into different animals, which have different abilities. That's from what I recall. I've been really meaning to get into this series, though.
Yeah, I've only ever heard it in a positive light. I've never heard anybody go, "Oh, that game," like from back in the day. Just good stuff. Like a Gaijin Goomba, a YouTuber, I think, did a video just about how it was like kind of appropriate to the culture, like sharing it. Like it wasn't just kind of ripping from it and making a dancing lady game.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, this is like it goes into the culture of this and that. And another thing, it's really cool how it's showing these things, which is good. I like it when you get some good info about something in your life.
Yeah, and the videos I recall are from, I think the YouTube channel is called Some Call Me Johnny, and he's done like a retrospective kind of on the Shantae series. Like he's played through the previous entries, at least.
That's pretty cool.
And, did a basic review on them. It was pretty interesting.
That's good. So I've got a little bit of an idea here in my head. and
Dangerous.
look out. But I'm going to need both of your guys' help because I'm not pro music. I'm not like self-taught music. I'm not super awesome with music. But so one of the things I do at work is to try and make video games that help teach concepts. But we try and do it in a like subtle way where it's not like annoying. Like Math Blaster is, they don't try to hide the fact it's teaching you math. You know, it's like use the sum of these two numbers to pop the bubbles and get through, or something like that.
Yeah, you're trying to do a more emergent style of teaching as opposed to an explicit.
Like how if you played one of the old school RPGs, you're gonna get good at simple math because that's how you do everything there, and that's how you min-max. That's how you get powerful. It's by mastering simple math. But they have rhythm games, obviously, like Guitar Hero was a super popular one.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in Guitar Hero, you didn't have an actual guitar, and guitar is like the big thing. So I'm gonna use the guitar. But would it be possible to make a game that would teach you how to play guitar? And the big idea I have for it now is that you're like a wizard or a bard or something that you use guitar to like cast spells, and so you have like a different chord that does a different thing, or a different sequence of notes that like does an ice spell or something. So it all looks like you're just doing magic and stuff, but you're really learning music stuff. And like to defeat a boss, you just play through a whole song and it sounds kick-ass or something.
Yeah, actually, if I recall, like in one of the rock band games, they actually did have like a full-on like proper guitar that you could get and potentially actually learn how to play the songs.
Interesting. Let me Google that really quick.
If I recall correctly. If not, it was another like spin-off third-party game that did that.
Yeah, I think I've seen that type of thing. But I was thinking just making it so that you plug the signal coming out of the guitar like straight into USB port essentially.
Yeah.
And like get the data out of there and make it so that you play songs, like really simple songs, and go through and you're an actual Guitar Hero. Obviously we couldn't use that name. I believe it's trademarked just a little bit. But you run around fighting monsters with your sweet guitar skills or something else.
I like the concept of it, like, and it definitely gives the opportunity to progress through the game. Like you could start with super easy things at the very beginning, like to attack an enemy, you pluck a string. To attack it harder, you pluck a string while holding the string on a certain fret. To attack multiple enemies, you strum a chord. And like it just progresses on and on until you get to like a final boss where you have to combine everything together and actually play a song.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I've had similar thoughts and have tried to create my own system regarding this, but oh boy, does it explodes in complexity.
Yeah, no,
like even trying to define simple rules, it's like oh boy.
Yeah, with something as big as music, I can assume that it would explode into immeasurable complexity very quickly.
Yeah, and it's like you can start ending up in weird situations where it's like, okay, if you go chord-based, well, you can end up in a situation where the optimal like chord progression isn't an actual song. Instead, it's a hopeless mess of dissonance. Because of just the simple way you've set up the chords initially. And so you can't just go off of that. And then if you go from a more holistic perspective, then it's like, oh boy,
yeah. So it would be
just way too much to think about.
So it would be way too hard to like make it so that it's like Skyrim, but with a guitar, where you're going around and doing anything, and like all this dynamic shit is happening around you. It would definitely have to be far more constrained than that.
Yeah, I imagine if you put enough thought into it,
though I do want to make
you could do something like that. But at least for me and my abilities, I was having a lot of difficulty trying to piece it together.
Yeah, definitely. This isn't something I've seen done before. Like I tried Googling that other actual guitar game, before, and I didn't find anything quickly. I don't want to search into it while we're on the show, but I can imagine it was, if it exists, it was like really complicated.
Yeah.
And with the rhythm game, because you could teach like rhythm with all these rhythm games, like how to do something on a beat and like follow a sequence of stuff, which is a very simple thing, but a lot of people can't do that, and that's like that's still a thing that needs to be taught. Is just like, you know, bobbing your head to a beat and doing other stuff on a beat. But
Yeah,
with that, they have the actual button input, and if we were like to take the actual signal out of a guitar, we'd have to do fancy signal math and stuff to like figure out what note they're actually playing and shit.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, super fun for everybody.
Well, and that's like the other side of things, where it's like, if you allow them even to go, you know, ahead of time to define like the next measure of music, it's like, okay, so you also want to try to incorporate beats, you know, or, you know, notes within a measure on certain different beats that could affect the effect of a spell that is music based. It's like, okay, yeah, no, this is getting into really complex territory.
Yeah.
Far too many variables.
Yeah, so definitely an interesting idea there, but it explodes in complexity, like you said. So can either of you think of any other way, like, and just think of any genre out there, any type of game, anything that's fun, really, that we can use, that could be used to teach some aspect of music? Because, I mean, like, the music in Zelda doesn't teach me shit about how music works. It teaches me that Zelda's lullaby goes, like, to the left, to the up, and then to the right twice.
I imagine if you broke it up into different sequences or like different aspects, like if you just focused on, here's a beat, and you just have something focused on that, like if I recall in the Super Mario RPGs, like the 7-star RPG or whatever its proper name is, one of the things you could do is if you hit, like when Mario's doing his jump on enemies, if you time your presses just right, you can have a combo going for a long time. And that's beat related right there.
I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you could probably do something similar for like melodies or harmonies or whatever, but go ahead.
I was just going to add, going off of the, like, jumping on the beat to get a higher combo, I think it was the Earthbound series or Mother, who had rhythm-based attacks, where if you hit the attack button along with the beat that was going, you would get higher and higher damage multipliers. And, like, again, like, that's teaching how to listen for the beat.
All right, so I have a little idea. It probably won't be super awesome. You couldn't make a whole game out of this, but so you know how the enemies sometimes have a leitmotif, like they have, like Darth Vader has his Darth Vader's theme, you know, that type of thing. So imagine a game where, like, one of those spectacle fighters, like you know, Devil May Cry or whatever, where each of your attacks, like its sound has a specific note that goes along with it. So super simple there. But that if, like, a super awesome sequence is to hit the enemy with their leitmotif in notes. So obviously you'd have to have really simple ones, because you can only have, like, you know, 3 or 4 attacks on a controller. So you'd only have 3 or 4 notes you could go with. But if you're, like, on the beat as their music played, hitting the same notes, then, like, that could be a combo that does, like, a lot of damage. And I think that could be cool, and, you know, not as complicated as, you know, live figuring out how to turn guitar music into music and into magic.
Yeah, I could see that if you tied like combos to specific enemies. That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then you could probably, like, for trash mobs, you could have, like, the trash mob kind of
a very short sequence.
Yeah, like the trash mob melody, and if you fight and are able to hit them in time with the trash mob melody, then you get, like, stacking damage multipliers or something.
Yeah, you just take them out right quick.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my little idea. Like I said, definitely not a whole game in there, but that could be an aspect of the thing. And I think actually they tried to do something like that in Fable 2, I don't remember actually using it in game, but I remember hearing in some article written about it, which of course it's a Fable game, so like 80% of all the shit that they said it would do in the articles probably didn't make it in the game.
I was gonna say it was a Molyneux game.
Yeah.
It probably
Got Molyneux pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they said that like if you were to like strike back in time with like the crescendo of the music, that you would get like a damage multiplier or bonus or something. And I think that actually made it in there. But in the heat of battle, there was just so many like other sounds going on, you could never really try to like get in the music. And of course, there was only one attack button, so
Right.
not super complicated.
I was gonna say it's been a while since I last played it, so I honestly can't remember anything if that occurred.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. Fable 1 was good, and then it was a pretty linear decline. So yeah, let's roll with that then. So let's just imagine a spectacle fighter where you are trying to add in little musical overtones. Wait, no, overtones, an actual music thing. It's not a good word. Musical ideas into the game, like that. So like we have a spectacle fighter and group types of enemies, and then bosses have their own music that are tied to, and your attacks are kind of tied to them. Like what else could we get in there to make it more kick-ass and musical and awesome? Like, what was it? Crypt of the Necrodancer? Have either of you played that?
I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
Yeah, I've heard of it too. And I saw the ad, and the ad was fucking popping. Like everything moving in the beat, like the enemies bobbing their heads. And I'm like, yeah, I want to watch this movie. And it's a video game. I'm like, man, I could not go in time with that. That would destroy me.
Yeah, the trick with Crypt of the Necrodancer is how you have to keep moving if you want to keep your multiplier going. And so it's like you don't have time to think. It's a game where you have to build up your reactions.
Okay.
But at the same time, there's still a good level of strategic thinking that goes along with that.
That's cool. So what else? How else would we kind of, and don't even think about the spectral fighter anymore. Just like what other genres can we inject music into like a gameplay capacity? Like what's another genre? First person shooter. Actually, with Blaster Girls, I'm trying to make that a thing where it goes like stuff happens in time with the music, not in a way powerful enough to like teach you the music, but like things will happen like on a beat and stuff, which I'm trying to figure out. That would be cool. But what's another genre?
I think it fits pretty well within puzzle games because you can have purely like music-based puzzles right there. But for things other than that obvious answer, it's a little more complex.
A little bit.
Yeah. And I didn't jump in here assuming it would all be easy. I brought the smart people here for a reason.
Well, going off of the first-person shooter, Warframe actually has a part where you can input your own music into a device and you can bring it out to combat. And if you perform certain actions along with the beat, you get different buffs. So if you crouch in time, you can stealth. If you swing your melee weapon in time, you get a physical damage buff. You shoot along with the beat, you get a damage buff to your guns, such like that.
That's pretty sweet.
Really teach music at all, but I mean it's using music in a first person shooter, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. How do you like? Is it just a song that comes with the game?
Default does come with the Warframe that uses music. You can customize it. There's a certain scale and a certain
cool
range of notes that you can input, so it's pretty limited. But inside of that, you can do whatever you want. Like if you just want to button mash, you can input all of the notes available and just have it screaming at you the entire time. Or if you want to actually make a little beat that you can like duck and bounce and dive along to while you're fighting, you can do that as well. It's
nice.
It's actually pretty neat.
Reminded of the God, that was the Sonic music that someone tied so it speeds up when you speed up the car, and it like goes and then it just starts screaming. Is that your song? Yeah, it's my the beat I chose for this class build.
Yes.
I call him the Screamo. So that's pretty cool, actually. Like they have a system built in there, and you said it has like editing stuff built in. That's pretty freaking sweet.
I'm pretty fond of it. It's a neat thing.
So, what other genres are there? We Google video game genres because I don't know them off the top of my
You
head.
can't think of any.
Yeah.
Well, there's obviously JRPGs, which are RPGs.
Are they even real?
Which we know, Legend of Zelda, puzzle games and such.
Yeah, you also have like the more rhythm ones like Audio Surf and I think
Audio
a few
Surf
others.
is cool.
Oh yeah.
Audio Surf, DDR.
So what are some of the like not even games, just what are some of the things like the best soundtracks you've ever seen?
Ooh.
Or I guess heard.
I do have to say Nier and Nier Automata. Those are great.
Yeah.
Although then again, I might be biased because I know the stories behind them, and so that can bias me a bit more.
Well, that's true, but that's kind of the nature of a soundtrack is that it goes along with another story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if I hear a specific song from like Nier or Nier Automata, it's like I know or not exactly, but I know where that song comes from, and so it's like I have an inherent tie to it.
Yeah. No, I can definitely agree with you there. Like the songs from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which like are one from my childhood, two from a good game, three not like actually super awesome songs, but I don't care, they're amazing.
They're memorable.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like I also listened to the Nier songs before I even knew the story, and they're still pretty good.
Yeah. So what about you, Feather? You said obviously you mentioned earlier Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
Which I assume had a good soundtrack going for it.
Good soundtrack. Also, kind of along the lines of Legend of Zelda, in that individually they're not all that groundbreaking and wow, but
well, yeah, there's memory limitations and stuff back then.
Yeah, but it's still like Thor was saying, if I heard it, I would definitely know where it was from, and I'd have that like emotional connection.
Yeah, that being said, I have listened to the Chrono Cross soundtrack, and I do enjoy it, even though I have no context for where the songs come from.
Let's see what else. We had Legend of Zelda, we had Chrono Cross. Final Fantasy also had some pretty darn good music.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Uematsu.
Cannot.
True. What about like movie soundtracks? Like, what's a movie that has like the most memorable song and then I guess soundtrack for you?
For me, probably Titanic, as silly as it sounds. I had the soundtrack when I was younger, and I listened to it all the time because it was so good.
Yeah, the movie was pretty good. Very long. Good.
Very long. Super long. Like, what, 4 VHS discs? But
VHS discs.
VHS discs.
All right.
That's the thing I just said.
Yeah. For realsies.
Gloss right on past that. But
Sony still makes VHS discs. Just
nice. Movies.
Yeah. So what about you, Thor? See, like, what movie do you has like the coolest or what most memorable soundtrack or something like that?
For me, all I can really recall is the movie Moon, because its leitmotif was like saturated throughout, and it was really well done. Like, it's not in your face, but at the same time, it is kind of.
So what is Moon?
It's an interesting movie. What it has to do is you basically follow a effectively a miner on the moon.
Okay.
And so basically, you just follow the everyday life of this one guy who's just harvesting resources on Earth's moon. And things develop from there without getting too into it.
All right. Yeah. Don't want to get too spoiler here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to name all the big ones that are kind of obvious. So obviously, anything John Williams made.
Right.
I can't, for the life of me, like think of a whole soundtrack because it's always just like the main title that I recall from anything John Williams has done. Like, everybody knows the Jaws theme. We could all hum it right now, I'm sure. Da 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 da, and on and on. And then of course all the Star Wars stuff. And Star Wars is probably the only one that I know most of the soundtrack from, just because it has the strong lead motifs or leitmotifs. That is like, there's the theme, the Star Wars theme, Vader's theme, this guy's theme, the Rebel theme. Everything has a theme. It's a very thematic thing. So like obviously the Star Wars, which has bloomed into a gigantic franchise that reuses a lot of that music.
There's Hans Zimmer and the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, did Hans Zimmer do that one?
Yep.
Oh, I did not know that. I know that he did all the Dark Knight movies and all of Christopher Nolan stuff, pretty much, right? Yeah. Good shit. Good shit. So, do either of you know like what makes these themes so kick-ass? Like, obviously, that's a huge question because, as we've said multiple times, music is fucking complicated as shit. But like, there has to be some big like common themes between these things. I mean, themes just keep popping up, right?
What I've been gathering from our conversation so far is kind of a mixture of the music itself and the emotional connection. Like, I don't think, like, I could be completely wrong on this, but we'll use Legend of Zelda as an example.
Right.
I don't think the like Legend of Zelda theme would be half as maybe impactful is a word if we didn't have that connection of running out across Hylia Field, being able to see everything out to the horizon with maybe the sunrise coming up out behind Death Mountain. Like, that's a specific memory that we can call back to, and we know that that was the music and kind of the atmosphere it was setting. We can also go to movies, like you were saying with Star Wars, seeing Darth Vader for the first time and having him walk out of the fog with his lightsaber and that like his theme playing in the background. Like it's not the same emotion as Legend of Zelda, but it's still like something that we can call back to, like seeing him for the first time. Like, wow, that's a guy and this is his music and I'm feeling away.
I suppose that's like what separates a soundtrack from like just a normal music album is that, like I mentioned before, it's tied emotionally. Like when Thor was talking about Nier Automata, it's tied to these things happening. It's tied to that story, so that it makes you think. What the music makes you think of where you heard it in the story, and the story kind of makes you think of the music a little bit, and they're tied at a deeper emotional level than just like a song. And of course, they usually don't have lyrics or something in there that directly conveys their own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So they're intertwined more, and they've got a lot of those positive associations. Then, of course, they have people talking about how cool they are, which makes other people think they're cool. Definitely doesn't hurt.
What else?
Yeah. So I think strong melody is one thing that I've heard that makes something very memorable. What are your guys' opinions on that? Like, is that true? Is that in your experience? Also, what is a melody? Because I don't actually know. Like, again, not super savvy music person here. What exactly is a melody in terms of music stuff?
I guess I would try to describe it as a melody is basically like a string of notes that is at the forefront of a larger sequence of notes. Basically, it's typically like the top line in chords. and it's what draws the most attention. Although that being said, I'm kind of weird in that because I've played cello, I've played the bass line and the harmonies the most, so that's what I'm actually more naturally drawn to because that's what I've played.
Years of training has trained you to listen to the parts of the music you were there to make.
Yeah.
Yep.
Understandable. And I suppose that's true with anything that you can know about, is like the more you know about it, the more you can pick it apart or see this and that piece of it, which I think that's another YouTuber, again, I don't recall their name, was talking about how that's kind of why we keep getting these samey summer blockbuster movies that don't really change anything. The Marvel movies have their like conservative directing, is because nobody in the audience is a director, and they're not going to notice all the nuance that goes into all of these higher tier kind of things directors do. And I suppose it's the same with like esoteric games. Like I like real-time strategy games, which I won't even try to think of how to make a real-time strategy game like go in time to the music. That's going to blow my brain apart. But there's a lot of nuance in terms of strategy that like you can't get into like a mainstream title. Like that's why all the mainstream titles are kind of, another shooter or a MOBA again and stuff. And with music, like that's I think I've heard that people talk about that with pop music, is like it's just the same few chords over and over again and stuff. Like Canon and D. I think it's they keep remixing Canon and D over and over again. Yeah, if I could just get another Canon in D, that would be great. But like it's a perfectly fine melody, and if you're only gonna like listen or buy like one album a year, then you're not gonna notice all the repetition. If you're gonna go see 1 or 2 movies a year, you're not gonna notice all the repetition. But if you're a critic and you've listened to every single song released this year, you're gonna notice the bigger patterns of everybody doing the same thing. If you're a movie critic and you like watch every single movie that's ever been made, you're gonna be like, oh, it's all the same. Like, yeah, after you watch everything ever made, it's gonna bleed together a little bit.
Yeah. The only thing I could add to that is the Canon and D criticisms has more to do with the chord progression as opposed to the specific melody.
Mm-hmm.
Because melody also has rhythm tied to it, whereas chord progressions are a little bit more independent of the specific rhythm of the song. And have more to do with the overall like chords, vertical stack of notes, how they move from one to the other. Once again, this is getting a little bit more into music theory, and that gets a little more complex. Pretty technical, yeah.
Maybe next time we'll have a nice system set up so we can have diagrams. Really in-depth, multi-dimensional.
Well, like, the key thing is most chords are just 3 notes stacked on top of each other. You have the bass note, you have some harmony that determines the type of chord it is, and you have the melody, which is the very top note. Cool. To put it all very basically. The melody can then go do some fancy things that brings it in or out of a chord depending on where it's going to or it's coming from. It gets a little bit complex. Yeah.
That's been a recurring theme. Music is complicated. It's like it's an entire field of study or something.
Yeah. Musicology is a whole thing.
Yeah. But it's super cool, and it's so integral to everything we make nowadays. Like, I'm sure if you're a really good director, you could direct an entire movie without a single note of music. But that would definitely be some esoteric art film. Let's be honest here. Even with video games, it'd be tough to get away. Like a lot of times when I play video games, I turn the music down and like just away because like I'm not here to listen to their stupid music, and I just like listen to Pandora while I'm playing these games. So like, but I can't. It's tough to imagine a game without music, you know?
Yeah. Although I will say, if you ever do get around to playing Nier or Nier Automata, you should definitely give its music a chance.
No.
Do it.
just because you asked. No. Just to spite you.
Okay, well then play Nier music over Nier Automata.
Okay. So make a Pandora station based off of Nier Automata and listen to it while playing Nier with the music off.
If you want a really good like retrospective of the Drakengard and Nier series, which are linked You should give Mr. Klemps a perusal.
All right. We'll definitely do that.
He's a humorous YouTuber who does a pretty good job of covering the stories of Drakengard and how that eventually relates to Nier.
Yeah. Well, I do want to start
because the crazy thing is Nier is based off of a gag ending from Drakengard 1.
That's pretty crazy, yeah.
And there's 3 Drakengards.
Holy shit.
Dang.
Yeah, he gets involved.
Yeah.
Branches forever.
Well, I do want to do some Let's Plays on our channel. So maybe those will be viable candidates as soon as any of us have time to do that with any level of consistency.
That's a nice thought.
Yeah. We like to dream. This is a show about dreaming. Yeah. So, a few minutes left in the show. Do we have any thoughts, any ideas we want to talk about? Other kick-ass music, video game, or media-related stuff? Let's see. In the chat over on the YouTubes, VHS discs were mentioned, and also the Batman 1989 soundtrack and Batman Returns, which were by Danny Elfman. So I definitely remember hearing those, especially when I was a kid, because I was a human child in the 90s. And I love the Batman movies. Who was the director? Tim Burton. Tim Burton's Batman movies. Like, they defined Batman for me, and I was so confused when Batman Returns came out. Like, it's all realistic and stuff, and they didn't have overgrown megalopolises. But Danny Elfman's Batman themes were pretty good.
Danny Elfman did total mind blank. Wow, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah,
and like everybody knows that one song. Like, this is Halloween. They know that.
Halloween. Yeah. So that's now that you say that, because that was also Tim Burton, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So it seems like directors and like composers seem to get kind of linked together, because Hans Zimmer, he was with Nolan pretty much for all of his stuff, and Danny Elfman seems to do all of Tim Burton's stuff. So have you ever seen them in the same place at the same time? Maybe they're one person. All right, so we had a few ideas. Just to recap, we talked about a couple new movies. We had tried to come up with a few ideas on how to teach music with games, but music is apparently fucking complicated. So we'd probably have to break it down to like one tiny aspect of music at a time and like teach it. Like, oh, this game you use different chords to blow up barrels. I don't know, or something. You just have to really put it. Like,
yeah, and to make things a little more complex. Some people learn like the fundamentals easier. Some people learn like the holistic perspective easier.
Yeah.
So you have like 2 conflicting directions where it's like some people, they learn better from going from beats to like bass notes to chords to melodies. Other people, they learn easier from going from melodies to harmonies to bass to beats or rhythms.
Well, then you just make it class-based. Yeah. So instead of like, fighter, bard, and wizard and stuff, you have like, I'm the bass guitarist. I will and my beats and my melodies.
The problem with that is a lot of people don't know what type they are.
Yeah. People often don't know things they don't know already.
Yep.
That was deep.
Yeah, I'm here all week. So for the next few hours. All right. So that was our wonderful dive into the insanely complicated world of music. I definitely want to chat with you guys more about this kind of stuff, because we have the Blaster Girls game that we're working on, but we want to incorporate music of that, have custom music there. But that is for behind the scenes and not for our live show here. Sounding Board. I'm Caleb Quick here with Feather and Thor.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't think we're Sounding Board anymore. You have a wonderful evening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of Sounding Board. Have a good evening.